is really a Kenyan? Welcome to this explainer, where we're diving straight into Chapter 3 of the Constitution to uncover the reality of what truly makes you a citizen. We go about our daily lives, carrying our IDs, using our passports, but very few of us actually stop and ask what the supreme law of the land literally says about our identity. So today, we're taking that dense legal jargon and transforming it into a clear journey to help you understand your absolute rights. Okay, let's just dive right in with a bit of a surprise. Did you know you can legally hold another country's passport while still being fully 100% Kenyan? Or that some individuals are actually citizens without even knowing it? We usually think of citizenship as this straightforward, single-lane road, right? You're born here, you get your papers, and that's the whole shebang. But the Constitution paints a much more dynamic picture, especially for folks living in the diaspora or those who've made Kenya their new home. All right, Section 1, Your Rights as a Citizen. To really get your status, we first need to look at exactly what your constitutional entitlements are under Article 12. So, here's the deal. Being a citizen guarantees you some very tangible things: a national ID card, a Kenyan passport, and all the associated rights and benefits. And this is absolutely crucial. It's not some favor from the government. It is your constitutional right to have access to these documents. What's really fascinating here is that the law specifically states these documents cannot just be taken away on a whim by any official. They can only be denied, suspended, or confiscated in accordance with a dedicated act of parliament that hits the strict criteria of Article 24. Moving on to Section 2, How to Become Kenyan. Now that we know the rights, how do you actually acquire them according to the law? The Constitution breaks this down into two distinct legal pathways: acquiring citizenship by birth, or applying for it through registration. These are your two main avenues laid out in Articles 14 and 15, and it is incredibly important to know which category you or your loved ones fall into, because as you'll see in just a bit, the law actually treats these two categories slightly differently when it comes to how permanent that citizenship is. Let's look closely at citizenship by birth. Listen, whether you're born in Nairobi or New York, if either your mom or your dad is Kenyan on the day you're born, you are Kenyan by birth. Period. So, for example, if a Kenyan is working in Qatar and gives birth there, that child is fundamentally recognized as a Kenyan citizen. The geographic location of the hospital simply doesn't matter. The bloodline is what the Constitution prioritizes here. And check out this quote from Article 14. It's actually a pretty amazing protection. If a young child is found in Kenya with unknown parents, the law automatically assumes they are a citizen. Imagine a child found on the streets whose origins are a total mystery. As long as they appear to be under 8 years old, the Constitution essentially wraps a protective blanket around them, granting them presumed citizenship by birth so they aren't left stateless. It's a profound human rights inclusion written right there into the text. Now, for citizenship by registration, there is a very strict time requirement. A foreigner must be lawfully resident or married to a Kenyan for 7 continuous years before they even reach eligibility to apply. The absolute keyword here is continuous. It's not just an automatic gift, right? It requires a documented, sustained commitment to the country over those 7 years. Oh, and additionally, a child who isn't a citizen but is adopted by a Kenyan citizen is also entitled upon application to be registered. Let's jump to Section 3, the dual citizenship rule, and see how this all builds into a huge opportunity for the modern mobile Kenyan. Article 16 says, a citizen by birth does not lose citizenship by acquiring the citizenship of another country. This was a total game changer and gives constitutional authority to a widely debated topic. It guarantees that a Kenyan by birth can safely hold a second passport and explore global opportunities without losing their roots. Think about the thousands of Kenyans living, studying, and working in the US, the UK, or Canada. This means they can absolutely naturalize in those countries, take advantage of local opportunities, without ever having to surrender their Kenyan identity. It legally and proudly acknowledges that, yes, you can belong to 2 places at once. Which brings us to Section 4, losing your citizenship. Now, this is an absolutely vital piece of the puzzle that often gets overlooked. Citizenship isn't always permanent. It can actually be taken away under Article 17. So, revocation mostly targets folks who acquired their citizenship by registration or presumption. For registered citizens, if someone got their status by using fake documents, fraud, or hiding material facts, it can absolutely be stripped away. Plus, if a registered citizen commits treason, unlawfully trades with an enemy during wartime, or gets convicted of an offense within 5 years of registration that carries a 3-year prison sentence, their citizenship is definitely on the line. For our presumed citizens, those found children we just talked about, their citizenship can be revoked if it's later revealed they were actually older than 8, or if their true foreign nationality or parentage becomes known. But notice who isn't anywhere on this list: citizens by birth.
Finally, Section 5, why this actually matters. Because taking all this constitutional theory, how does it translate directly to your everyday hustle?
Look, it's one thing to read the legal text, but living it out is another story. Whether you're standing in line at a Huduma Center or applying for a job, these laws dictate your identity. Without an ID or a passport, you're essentially locked out of the system. You can't secure your right to vote. Your access to employment is severely hampered. Travel freedom is non-existent, and you simply cannot receive vital government services. So when there are massive backlogs at the passport office or Huduma centers, it's not just some minor bureaucratic annoyance. It is a direct bottleneck on the entitlements absolutely guaranteed to you under Chapter 3. So I'm going to leave you with this to drop in the comments. Does your everyday reality at the immigration offices actually match these smooth constitutional guarantees? And do you think dual citizenship should have limits? We've explored the theory, the protections, and the rules of revocation laid out in the Supreme Law. But we all know law in paper and life in practice can sometimes look very different. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and make sure you understand the rights that define who you truly are.